All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome you all to the 2019 Clarkstown Police Department Officer Recognition and Award Ceremony. This is a ceremony that we have every year to honor both civilians in the town of Clarkstown who assist law enforcement and our own officers who go above and beyond the call of duty and discharge of their respective duties here with the town of Clarkstown Police Department. Before we begin our ceremony, we'd just like to take a second to recognize some of our distinguished colleagues and politicians in attendance today, in no particular order. We welcome Councilman Don Franchino, retired Police Chief Peter Noonan, Councilman Pat Carroll, Rockland County Legislator Lon Hofstein, Clarkstown Justice David Asher, Rockland County Legislator Chris Carey, New York State Assemblyman Ken Zabrowski, Clarkstown Supervisor George Homan, Rockland County Legislator Harry Cornell, Rockland County Legislator Annie Paul, and retired Supreme Court Justice of the State of New York Thomas Walsh. Again, thank you for taking the time to attend this with us today. I know we all have personal things. We all have a lot of things going on, I'm sure, in our lives. So again, thank you for taking the time for us to recognize our officers and civilians here today. At this time, I would ask that everybody please rise while the Clarkstown Police Honor Guard presents the colors.
Shoulder, march. Ready, cut. Colors, forward, march. Detail, left leg, left. Detail, retake, march. Colors, march time, march. Ready. Detail, order, move.
At this time, I would like to invite Clarkstown Police Chief Raymond McCullough to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Colors, present, up, present, home.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Colors, shoulder, up. Detail, order, home.
At this time, I'd like to invite Department Chaplain Reverend David Lothrop to lead us in the invocation. Rev.
Let us pause for a moment to remember all law enforcement, those in our military who have paid the ultimate price for the freedoms that we so richly enjoy. Oh God, how thankful we are to be blessed with men and women who dedicate their lives in order that we may continue to share the freedoms that we so enjoy. We are truly thankful for the talents, those and their accomplishments that have been made. Today, with gratitude in our hearts, we come to recognize those individuals in law enforcement and civilian who have gone beyond the call of duty. Through their achievements and their heroic acts, they have brought great credit upon themselves, this department, this community, but especially to their families. May their accomplishments spur us on to meet new challenges. May this ceremony be a reminder to us that excellence in life takes time and a lot of effort, and always involves going the second mile. May the honors that are bestowed upon these honorees today challenge each and every one of us to serve the cause of freedom with renewed commitment. This morning we are also pleased to recognize the achievements of our young men and women. It is our great privilege to honor them with scholarships. May they continue to become enlightened and prepared to lead in the future. We now take a moment to remember those retired members of our department who have left us way too early. We say to their families, thank you for letting us be recipients of their dedication and friendship. For those retired and those who have gone to their final resting place, may their families know that they will truly live on in our hearts and our lives forever. It's now our prayer that they will continually rest in peace. And now, O God, may the blessing be upon this ceremony as it continues, for we ask it in thy name. Amen.
I ask you please remain standing for another moment while the colors are retired by the Clarkstown Police Honor Guard.
Colors, right, face. Detail, present, halt. Detail, order, halt.
Okay, everyone can please be seated. Again, thank you to the Clarkstown Police Honor Guard. It's a volunteer organization for all that they do and for making these ceremonies as special as they are. And so before we begin the actual ceremony, just like to take a moment again to introduce the dais from left to right. Your left to right, starting at the foremost to the left, Detective Pete Walker, who is also Clarkstown PBA President. Chief Raymond McCullough, Police Chaplain Reverend David Lothrop, Supervisor George Holman, Councilman Donald Franchino, Councilman Patrick Carroll, Legislator Lon Hofstein, Clarkstown Justice David Asher, Assemblyman Kenneth Zabrowski, Rockland County Legislator Harriet Cornell, and Rockland County Legislator Annie Paul. And just one further note, we were remiss if we didn't recognize retired Chief, New City Fire Department Chief Richard Willows, who is also here in attendance today. So again, thank you all for being here today. Before we get to the substantive part of the award ceremony, I'd just like to invite a couple people up for some opening remarks. First, we'll have Chief McCullough, followed by Supervisor George Holman. Chief McCullough.
Thank you. Good morning. On Friday, I was actually in my office with Reverend Lothrop, our department chaplain, and I asked him to pray for some nice weather for us. So, as you can see, we owe the Reverend a debt of gratitude. It's a beautiful morning. I welcome you all to our annual award ceremony. It is my honor and privilege to join you this morning as we collectively recognize this group of Clarkstown's finest. I am humbled by the opportunity to share my thoughts as well as our appreciation and admiration for today's honorees. In his work, Common Sense, author Thomas Paine wrote that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheaply, we esteem too lightly. I think you will find that to be the case today. Shortly, our honorees will receive awards commemorating and memorializing their respective contributions to the Clarkstown community. As the officers are called forth, I ask them to consider Paine's words. These plaques and proclamations only symbolize the great triumphs the honorees have received in our noblest of professions. They are merely a token for the dedicated self-sacrifice and desire you have shown to make your town an ideal place in which to live and work, simply a better place. Do not view this morning's recognition too cheaply. Please understand that we acknowledge that what you have done means so much more than what we convey in a simple plaque or certificate. Ladies and gentlemen, those before you have done the following: demonstrated professionalism under the most trying of circumstances, embodied patience when others long since would have walked away, demonstrated humanity toward people who those less compassionate might say deserve none, shown dedication to the duty as the clock ticked long past the end of their scheduled tour. And please don't forget the family members, many of you are here this morning, who waited patiently at home. Therefore, I am pleased to recognize you as the best of the best, those who have stood and said, I can do that, I can give more, I will walk in harm's way. This salute to our finest officers constitutes the best we have to offer. In closing, I would like to thank them and everyone that's here this morning. And I'd also like to recognize those that have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to our country, both in the military and in law enforcement. Thank you again. And before I end, I would just like to, on a personal note, recognize Detective Lieutenant Glenn Dietrich, who is retiring at the end of the month after 35 years of dedicated service to the Clarkstown Police Department. Anyone that knows Glenn knows that he eats, sleeps, and breathes Clarkstown Police. He started the critical incident response team here. He was the foremost leader in school safety in regards to school shootings, and he will be missed greatly. Congratulations, Glenn.
And again, so I'll introduce Chaplain Reverend David Lothrop, Supervisor Holman for some opening remarks in his own right.
Well, good morning, and thank you all for being here. And Chief, you kind of stole the end of my remarks as well. On a personal note, I wanted to also thank Detective Lieutenant Dietrich, and I can tell you that in regular communication with the school superintendents across our town, they regularly praise Glenn. I've seen his work firsthand as well these last 4 years as supervisor. So, Glenn, my hat is off to you for all of your service to our town. Thank you very much. Good morning, and thank you all for being here. You know, Police Week is an important week. It really started and was commemorated in October of 1962 when Congress passed a special act and President Kennedy signed into law a resolution designating the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And during this week, police departments around the country gather, recognize the efforts of their officers, and more importantly, commemorate the fallen. Building upon that designation, our country realized that it was just not enough to recognize police, but to create a memorial that honors the fallen in Washington, D.C. So in 1991, the National Police Memorial opened in Washington at Judiciary Square with the names of officers and law enforcement who had died in the line of duty going all the way back to 1791. As of this year, over 21,000 names adorn the walls and grounds of that very important memorial. While it is likely not as famous or regrettably as visited as some of the other memorials in Washington, it's a very, very important place as it holds the names of everyday heroes who died in the line of duty. Every spring, new names are added. Last year, over 160 names were added to that wall. Unfortunately, so far this year, an additional 40 officers have been killed in the line of duty across our country, and their names will be added next year. President George H.W. Bush dedicated the memorial in 1991 and offered the following simple comment. Carved on these walls is the story of America, of a continuing quest to preserve both democracy and decency, to protect a national treasure that we call the American dream. Certainly, our police and the names on that wall are protecting our American dream. The memorial has a number of other features, including a very powerful statue of an adult lion protecting its cubs, and the following quote from the book of Proverbs. The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. It's a very fitting tribute to honor the fallen and to commemorate the work of our police. So today, in our own way, we're paying tribute to the fallen and to those in service as police officers. This morning, we pause and recognize the service, the sacrifice, and the professionalism of the men and women of the Clarkstown Police Department. We celebrate our officers and recognize just how much of a difference they've made and continue to make in our community. Responding to calls, not knowing what they will encounter, and having to react daily to the unknown. I've been town supervisor now for just 4 years, and during that time I've had the wonderful privilege to see firsthand the professionalism and dignity which the men and women of our department continually perform. Whether it be during extreme weather events like snowstorms, floods, and power outages, whereby the extraordinary task of keeping people safe is made to look ordinary and frankly easy. I've seen it with the simple gestures of a couple of our officers pushing a stranded motorist out of a snowdrift, or like the time when I passed it was the first person on the scene with a senior citizen who drove into a drainage ditch, and to see our police arrive and immediately calm that elderly resident and make him feel reassured. One such event that I recently saw exemplified the professionalism of this department just occurred this past week. I was present when Lieutenant Ronan had the incredibly difficult task to inform 2 parents of the death of a teenage son. It's a moment that I will not soon forget. It's a moment I will not soon forget, touched with unspeakable grief and anguish, with a pain that will never dissipate. Much like clergy, police are present at the very best and the very worst of times. We see it firsthand each and every day, from the mundane task of paperwork to traffic enforcement, to solving frauds, to saving lives, and making that incredibly hard notification of a death of a loved one, and everything in between. I thank each and every one of our officers, dispatchers, and staff for your service. On behalf of myself and the town board and the people of Clarkstown, I express our deep gratitude to our wonderful police department for all that you do in keeping Clarkstown safe. Thank you, Chief McCullough and your command staff and the men and women of our police force on a job incredibly well done. We recognize the sacrifice that all of you make, and we thank you and we thank your families, some of whom are here today, for sharing you with us. We thank them and you and understand the many missed birthdays, holidays, and other events that you've experienced. When power's been out at your house, or when you've been snowed in, you've been called into work and had to deal with it later. The husbands, sons, wives, daughters, moms, and dads have had to endure a lot of different things while you've placed yourself in harm's way, and we are grateful to each and every one of the families. And on a personal note, again, I'd like to thank Lieutenant Dietrich for all of his service to our town. I'd also like to thank our PBA President, Pete Walker, and all the members of the PBA for everything that you do, and not just ably representing the police department, but really the quiet acts that the PBA undertakes to support the people of our town, many of which they don't trumpet. And finally, I just, on a personal note, I want to offer the congratulations and the thanks of both Councilman Borelli, who wanted to be here, but he's at his daughter's graduation, and Councilman Pete Bradley, who's working for the FDNY today. Thank you all. God bless you.
Thank you, Supervisor. All right, so now we'll begin the substantive portion of our award ceremony. Just be mindful that we are a 24/7 operation, so unfortunately, some of the awards we're giving today and some of the officers that are being honored cannot make it due to their conflicting work schedule. So, be mindful of that. Our first award will be for excellent police service, which will be awarded to Police Officer Anthony Drescher. On October 13th, 2018, at about 4:00 a.m., Police Officer Drescher entered the Clarkstown Police Parking area following his shift. Police Officer Drescher, still vigilant, took notice of a male subject entering a parked vehicle in the Clarkstown Town Hall. After completing his required paperwork, and nearly an hour later, Officer Drescher was off duty when he exited the police station and again observed the same male inside the same vehicle. Officer Drescher tactfully approached the vehicle and began to question the subject what his purpose was in the area at that hour of the day. During that, he noticed a crowbar on the passenger seat of the vehicle. After further investigation and review of police department security system, it was determined that the male subject had been captured on security video looking into and attempting to gain access to police vehicles in the town hall parking lot. Police Officer Drescher's actions thwarted the suspect from stealing the property of the town of Clarkstown and have resulted in the arrest of the subject for possession of burglar tools, trespassing, and attempted theft. Congratulations for your work, Officer Anthony Drescher. Our next award will be honoring two people, one of our officers, Christian Cortelli, for excellent police service, and one of them a civilian award in concurrence with his excellent police service award. So this is an award for Christian Cortelli, Sergeant Christian Cortelli, and NYP Detective Michael Best. Is Mr. Best in attendance today? On October 21st, 2018, police patrol units responded to a violent robbery in progress in Nanuet. Witnesses told police that a male victim had been attacked, struck several times with a club, and had his jewelry stolen by unknown suspects. A civilian bystander, off-duty NYPD detective Michael Best, had intervened and interrupted the assault and robbery of the victim. Best was also able to provide responding police officers with a proper description of the assailant. Later, while continuing to canvass the area looking for the suspect, Sergeant Cortelli observed the male party walking that matched the given description. Upon stopping the suspect, Sergeant Cortelli noticed blood on the suspect's shirt. After a positive identification by the witness, the suspect was arrested and charged with assault and robbery of the victim. Congratulations, Sergeant Cortelli, and thank you to NYPD Detective Michael Best for your assistance in this matter. Our next award will be for Police Officer David Mendez. Is David here with us today? On the date of November 2nd, there he is. On the date of November 2nd, 2018 at 4:32 a.m., Police Officer David Mendez was on routine patrol when he received a computer alert from the Clarkstown Police license plate reader system of a vehicle that had entered the town of Clarkstown. The alert was associated to a suspect vehicle that was used in a past larceny and an entire string of larcenies of cooking oil and possible associated other larcenies in New York and New Jersey and Pennsylvania area. Police Officer Mendez canvassed his assigned patrol area for businesses that had used cooking oil and located the suspect vehicle. Police Officer Mendez located the suspect vehicle and did interrupt the suspect stealing used cooking oil from another business. Police Officer Mendez's arrest for the suspect of thefts and in the rash of larcenies which had occurred in the larger tri-state area. Congratulations, Officer Mendez. Our next award is for two of our detectives, Detective Bryan Callan and Detective Philip Callaghan. On November 21st, 2017, a 7-year-old girl was walking to her school bus in Congers when she was struck by a vehicle. The child suffered a broken leg in the accident and numerous other injuries. The driver of the vehicle fled the scene. Although there were several witnesses to the event, we were left with little evidence in which to conduct our investigation. Nonetheless, through continued follow-up of all leads and employment of every investigative tool available, Detectives Callaghan and Callaghan were able to solve the case. The suspect was arrested some 16 months later in the state of Indiana, Pennsylvania, with the assistance from the Pennsylvania State Police. Again, this was a 2017 incident, but the suspect was not arrested until more recently. So congratulations to Detective Callaghan and Detective Callaghan. The next award for excellent police service will have 4 honorees. Sergeant Christian Cortelli, Detective Thomas Flanagan, Police Officer Bob Fortune, and Detective Sergeant James Fay. And again, this is a 2017 incident, but due to the footwork that was involved, it was not solved until later on, and the investigation was ongoing. On November 23rd, 2017, Thanksgiving morning, police received a report of an attempted robbery with shots fired at a residence in New City, New York. 4 shots were fired into a house by 2 assailants who had fled the scene prior to the arrival of police units. An extensive criminal investigation, which spanned several months, was led by these 3 officers and their supervising sergeant, James Fay. Their investigation culminated in the arrest of both actors and resulted in them being charged with numerous felony charges, including attempted murder and weapons possession charges. This award could not be presented last year, as I said, because of the ongoing criminal prosecution, which was still pending up until fairly recently. So, congratulations. The next award is for excellent police service. It goes to Officer Sean Suarez and Daniel Woolley. And again, I believe they're both working today, so they cannot be present with us. May 21st, 2018, police patrols have been stepped up in response to several hate crimes which occurred in the North New City area. During the midnight shift in the early morning of May 21st, patrol units responded to a report of a suspicious incident. A homeowner had reported hearing his glass storm door break. PO Sean Suarez began canvassing the area and spotted the suspect hiding underneath a nearby parked car. The suspect ignored police orders and attempted to flee the scene when he was apprehended by police officer Daniel Woolley. The officers were able to subdue the suspect, who was charged with criminal mischief, resisting arrest, and again later identified as a suspect in some of the other earlier hate crimes which had occurred in the area. Congratulations to Officer Sean Suarez and Daniel Woolley, again, who both cannot be here today due to their work schedules. Our next award is the Life Saving Award. Again, this is awarded to one of our officers and a civilian who assisted him in administering medical care. So I know Officer Tom Rolston is not here today. However, Mr. Israel Shanker is here today, so we'd like to honor him. On August 14, 2018, Officer Rolston was dispatched to the Palisades Center skating rink with regard to a medical emergency. Upon arrival, Officer Rolston found the civilian, Mr. Shanker, performing CPR on an adult male. P.O. Rolston and Mr. Shanker continued CPR and emergency first aid until paramedics arrived. The aided party was transported to Good Samaritan Hospital, where he was later further revived by medical personnel. Without the efforts of Officer Rolston and Mr. Shanker, doctors concluded that the male party would not have survived the cardiac event. So thank you to Mr. Shanker for your assistance in this matter. Our next award is also a life-saving award, honoring Police Officer Daniel Maloney and Police Officer Timothy Woolley. On January 25th, 2018, patrol officers were dispatched to Central Nyack after a report of a man having been shot. Officers Maloney and Woolley found the victim unconscious, profusely bleeding from several gunshot wounds. The responding officers were able to render life-saving first aid to the victim, which included applying a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. Subsequent treating doctors credited the officers' actions with saving the life of the victim. Congratulations, Officer Woolley and Officer Maloney. The next life-saving award will be issued to Police Officer Matthew Darwin and Police Officer Thomas Centauri. And this is a particularly special award because the victim that they saved is actually one of our dispatchers here at the department. So, again, special for the department. On August 12, 2018, at approximately 5:45 p.m., patrol units were dispatched to a location in Nanuet for a party suffering a severe medical emergency. Officers found that the aided party had collapsed and was not breathing. The responding officers deployed, the department issued defibrillator, shocked the aided party, and began life-saving CPR. Rockland County paramedics and Nanuet ambulance corps responded and took over the emergency medical treatment. As I noted before, the patient was Clarkstown Police Officer Dispatcher Joe Coster, and he's made a full recovery, and he is back at work within weeks. Congratulations. Congratulations, back. One more award for excellent police service. Again, Timothy Hodges, Officer Timmy Hodges, I don't believe is here today. But on April 14th, 2018, several threatening messages were left on an answering machine at the Summit School in Upper Nyack. The messages contained threats to harm students and staff at the school. School administrators contacted Clarkstown Police, and Officer Timmy Hodges, a veteran officer and certified school resource officer, responded to the school. The caller identified himself as a past student. P.O. Hodges recognized the seriousness of the threats, searched various databases, and found a single contact between Clarkstown Police Department and the suspect from 2002. Officer Hodges contacted the Suffolk County Police Department in Suffolk County, New York, and relayed the information. The suspect was apprehended and charged with numerous counts of illegal weapon possession charges and making terroristic threats after authorities were able to locate him and search his home in Suffolk County, New York. Again, Timmy couldn't be here today due to his work schedule, but congratulations to Tim Hodges. And our final officer award is for Meritorious Police Service. Second, Meritorious Police Service Award shall be awarded to any member of the department who, in the line of duty, performs an outstanding act, which demonstrates exceptional initiative or unusual dedication and brings public professional acclaim to themselves and the department. This award will be issued to Officer Edward Fairclough. Is he here today? On February 12th, 2018, the Clarkstown Police Department received a 911 call during which an armed bank robbery in New City was reported. Dispatch put out the information that a GPS tracking device had been placed in the money bag containing the proceeds of the robbery. The GPS locations were broadcast to patrol officers. Officer Fairclough observed a vehicle matching the description of the getaway vehicle, which was occupied by 3 male parties. A felony car stop was initiated, and after a brief pursuit, P.O. Fairclough was able to force the vehicle to a stop. After detaining the suspects at gunpoint, Officer Fairclough and responding officers were able to arrest the suspects, recover the proceeds, and the loaded firearm which was used to perpetrate the armed bank robbery. Congratulations, Officer Fairclough. All right, one more round of applause for our officer honorees today for the awards. So now I would like to call up Detective Pete Walker, Clarkstown PBA President, and we'll be conducting awarding of the scholarships for 2019 to graduating seniors. So Pete Walker will step on up.
Good morning. Each year, the Clarkstown Policemen's Benevolent Association is proud to honor the past memory of Chief of Police Robert Snackenberg by awarding a scholarship in his name to a graduating high school senior from our community. Chief Snackenberg was a man of great character, dedicated to his family, community, country, and this great police department. His service and dedication to the people of Clarkstown set a high standard. Today's PBA members are committed to continuing that high standard of service and dedication to the people of this town. This year's scholarship recipient embodies Chief Snackenberg's commitment to improving our community through service to others. His parents came to this country, the award recipient is going to be Jean Mars Jr. His parents came to this country from Haiti in hope of giving their children the chance of the American dream. In recognition of his parents' sacrifice, he has devoted himself to his studies with the ultimate goal of attending medical school and becoming a pediatrician who will work with inner-city families. His hard work paid off as evidenced by his induction into numerous honor societies. He has volunteered at the Nyack Hospital, the Nyack High School Library, and was an active member of his church youth group. On behalf of the Clarkstown PBA, I would like to present this year's Snackenberg Scholarship to Jean Mars Jr. Congratulations. Again, this year, the PBA, in recognition of our strong partnership with the community, is able to present scholarship awards to graduating high school seniors from our town. These students have demonstrated both academic achievement and strong record of community service. The PBA recognizes the dedication of these young adults and displayed by their volunteer work in charitable and community service organizations. This year's Clarkstown PBA Award scholarships go to Olivia Brigando, Lisa Clark, and Rebecca Jewett. Congratulations. In September 1973, James J. Doyle was sworn in as a Clarkstown police officer and began a long and distinguished career. Jim recognized the importance of protecting our children and championing the causes that most support the youth of our community. He was dedicated to protecting and serving children throughout our department's Juvenile Aid Bureau. Even after moving on to other assignments, Jim looked back at his time in the Juvenile Aid Bureau as his most significant long-term contribution to our department. After Jim's passing in 2005, his wife Rosemary and his son Michael organized and established the J Doyle Memorial Golf Outing. Proceeds from this outing are used exclusively to fund the Clarkstown PBA Scholarship Award account. Jimmy loved the Clarkstown Police Department and considered it his second family. He would surely have been proud of the young adults being recognized here today. This year's recipients of the Detective Sergeant James J. Doyle Memorial Scholarship Awards are Brendan Curley, Caitlin Keene, Corrine Kelly, Elizabeth LaFasciano, John Mollahan III, Matthew Riley, Caitlin Smith, and Emily Walker. Congratulations to all this year's recipients. There is one more family we would like to mention here today, and they are the Mccrudden family. Terry and Chris Mccrudden were both veteran Clarkstown police officers and brothers who passed away at young ages. The Clarkstown Police Department suffered along with the Mccrudden family during this tragic time. The Mccruddens, however, did not wallow in their sorrow. Instead, they decided to celebrate the lives of Terry and Chris by holding an annual golf outing with proceeds being donated back to the Clarkstown PBA Scholarship Fund. At this point, we would like to thank the Mccruddens for their generosity to the youth of town of Clarkstown. Thank you very much.
All right, so I'd like to thank everyone for attending this morning's ceremony. As a reminder, at 11 o'clock today, over at the courthouse yard, will be the annual Police Officers Memorial over there, conducted by the county. Everybody that's here today, we invite to our property, the back lot, for refreshments, light breakfast, snacks, and the like for all those in attendance. So again, congratulations to all the scholarship winners, to all the officers who won awards, and most importantly, thank you all for taking time out of your day to join us here today for the award ceremony. I'll see you next year.